Get your earballs ready. Welcome to the Greg and Tim Show podcast. Take time to sit back and relax and enjoy the show. Here are your hosts, Greg and Tim.
Hey, welcome back to the Greg and Tim Show. This is part 2 of the Drew Dudley interview. If you didn't see part one was last week. Check it out. Part 1 was fun. It was lighthearted. It had some serious moments, but we like I said last week, we kind of got off the rails to start part 1. But I think that was on purpose. We wanted to talk to him like a regular person and, you know, that disarming charm that Tim has.
That I have.
Yeah.
That could be true. I don't know.
You have a disarming charm. You look very young for your age, apparently.
I do?
Yeah. I think we just use a good filter.
Yeah. So part 2 was amazing.
Yeah.
We got a little bit more serious discussion in part 2 and got into more of the book. And I just finished reading this book a month ago, and it is really fantastic. I learned quite a bit, some thought-provoking things that I'm going to take with me. And I like that whenever I can learn something new. And I'm certainly going to take this into account into everywhere that I go. And everyone out there, I think, just have a listen. Yeah. Take a listen. If you haven't had a chance to watch the first one, go back and listen to that one and listen to part 2. So I really had a good time with that conversation, and it was very helpful.
So part 1, we did our introduction about Drew Dudley. So if you want to go back and find out who Drew Dudley is all about, but basically author of this book, this is day 1. Let's get you to part 2 of the interview, and let's welcome Drew back.
Like, you speak to people for a living, you have your stories. Can you tell us something that maybe people don't know about Drew Dudley, that you don't tell anybody, something secretive, nothing crazy, but something people don't know about you?
I was going to say, you want me to tell a secret that isn't scary?
Well, go with the scary one.
Don't know about me. Yeah, I am. I wouldn't say I don't tell people this, but there's 2 things. One, that I, as a hobby, create sports highlight videos. I set them to music, and so my first ever job was at a television station, and I learned how to edit, and I paid my way through college partially by creating like biography type things for people's birthdays. Like, they give me their photos, they give me some music, and I put them together. But I was just so fascinated by those highlight videos that you'd see, NFL films where they put them to music. Yeah. So I do that for fun. Also, I am such a gamer now since the pandemic. I started when I was 44 years old or whatever it was, and I am a huge gamer right now. Like, absolutely huge, to the point where I had to take a break because I got tendonitis in my thumbs. And so I don't know if that's as exciting or interesting as you'd like, but I in the last 3 years have gamed so much that I actually had to put my thumbs in a splint.
Games of choice are what?
What's that?
What are your games of choice?
Red Dead Redemption 2 saved my life during the pandemic. And I'm not saying that being facetious. It literally, I think, saved my life. And MLB The Show and NBA 2K. So I'm a big sports game guy. I'm still trying to find that game that connects me the same way Red Dead. But a lot of games like Red Dead, the open world stuff, is either super fantasy and really complicated. Like, I can't figure out spells, okay? I just want to shoot people with a 6-shooter.
Have you done Last of Us?
And then when you play things... What's that?
Last of Us?
I haven't done The Last of Us because I'm freaked out by jump scares because I have PTSD. Okay. Maybe people don't know that, actually. I have PTSD. Okay. So if there's a jump scare, it's very hard on me. Same thing with like a car backfiring or a horn suddenly. Without being able to control it, I freak out a little bit, and my adrenaline is so high that I'm actually nauseous for a few minutes afterwards if there's a sudden loud noise around me. So, I mean, that's a more personal one than like, I'm a gamer and I love making sports videos. But
do you have a sports videos channel on YouTube?
I do not. I don't. Because it would basically, creating sports videos is copyright infringement 101. Yeah. Right. So here is a song that I'm not allowed to use set over clips that I'm not allowed to use. So I kind of just do it. I kind of just do it internally as a way of chilling out. Right. You know what I mean? I could put it on YouTube, but I'd be paying somebody.
Yeah.
We don't. Right.
We don't.
You put stuff all the time.
So what's really funny, Drew, is I honestly also make highlight videos. And it's funny that you were saying it, because I'm thinking to myself, like, do I tell them that I also do it? Because I don't want to seem like I'm trying to just, be like you or anything like that, but I have them on my YouTube channel. I don't pay anything.
I will go check those out, man.
They get copyright and like they get copyrighted. So the author of the music gets to put ads on it.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize
so, that. And then I always attribute like where the video's from, like Sportsnet, TSN, whatever the video comes from. So I've done a few Jays ones, Winnipeg Jets, and Blue Bombers, and I always do them, and I'll send them over to some of the players and stuff like that to check out. And it's always cool to get that. I'm a person, for the 5 love languages, I'm a person that likes to hear compliments and like that. Like my love language is words of affirmation. So when
my love language is pizza.
Well, pizza is probably a close second. and yeah, so like when I do that and I send it out, I do it because I'm like looking obviously for words of affirmation. That's how I like to.
That was a very good question, Greg.
That was a question?
That was a very good question. That point.
Yeah, see, but sarcasm, I get.
Someone once told me my love language is. They said my love language is Jennifer Lawrence, and I was like, yeah,
Scarlett Johansson.
Scarlett Johansson, yeah.
Was it? Is it Scarlett? Your love language is Scarlett Johansson.
Yeah. So since I got him Kurt Keelback for his birthday,
I'm working on Scarlett Johansson.
I would like to return as co-host for that particular. Speaking of people with a great voice, though, right?
So, I know, right?
It's the Greg and Drew show.
It's just Greg and Drew and Scarlett.
Oh, Tim's gone.
Drew and Scarlett.
I want to go and delve a little bit about mental health awareness. You talk a bit about your mental health journey. Could you touch on that a little bit, and then maybe talk about the prevalence in our day and age? It seems like mental health is such a prevalent issue. Is it worse? Are there some things in society, whether social media, whether diet, that are making some of these concerns worse? What are your opinions on it? Maybe citing a couple examples from your life.
Yeah, I think one of the analogies I heard recently, someone told me, was that we noticed that there are more left-handed people after 1950, right? And so, oh my God, why have the number of left-handed people exploded, or people who write with their left hand exploded after 1950? Well, it's because we stopped punishing people who wrote with their left hand and making them write with their right. So it's not as if left-handed people didn't exist before. It's just that society didn't create a place where they were allowed to be. So is there more mental illness than there used to be before? I do not know. I honestly don't. Yeah. I think that there probably is different kinds of mental illness now, in terms of, I think social media has led to completely different forms of internalizing different types of pathologies. But I myself am bipolar. I have bipolar 2, which I'm told is in remission. I didn't know that was a thing. Someone out there might be like, there's no such thing as remission for bipolar, but that's what the doctor wrote on my sheet. So I kind of went, oh, okay. I am bipolar. I battled with my weight. I am an alcoholic. And I just discovered that I have ADHD. And what's interesting is when I was diagnosed with ADHD, it was very interesting how I reacted to that, because I've lived my life very out loud in terms of telling people that I'm an alcoholic, in terms of sharing things about my weight loss journey, in terms of sharing things about the bipolar. But I all of a sudden thought to myself, you can't talk about this.
Yeah. Because
people will find you, I don't know if they'll find you inspiring, but they will feel that you are resilient if you have 2. But if you come up with a 3rd, now you're just being self-indulgent. If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm not going to talk about ADHD because people are going to roll their eyes and be like, Drew's got another one. How do you think I feel? But that to me says a lot about the stigma still exists.
Yeah.
And the idea that someone told me once to stop using the death of my girlfriend as a crutch. And so even though people are like, oh, we're being supportive, #Bell Let's Talk. My opinion is that people want to support mental illness awareness, but they never want to deal with the negative aspects of a mentally ill person.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I want to write #Bell Let's Talk, but when my friend is canceling on me constantly, I get pissed at them.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, well, I know they're depressed, but, right? So I think what happened was, when I was diagnosed with ADHD, I thought, I'm not allowed to have another one, because people are going to roll their eyes and assume that I'm trying to get attention.
Yeah.
And so it still exists, my friend.
Yeah.
And what really gets me, like, I'm so hesitant to say this, but Kanye, right? We all want to support mental illness awareness and hashtag Bell Let's Talk, but Kanye's sick.
Yeah.
And yet he got destroyed because he said awful stuff. Like, I want to be very clear to anybody listening. I in no way, shape, or form condone any of the crap that Kanye pulled.
Yeah.
But Kanye is sick. And we're not allowed to call somebody evil if we know they're mentally ill. The problem with Kanye is he's so wealthy and powerful that nobody around him, everyone around him is dependent on him.
Yeah.
So no one will tell him the truth, right?
Yeah.
And those who tried to had to leave. But we're not allowed to say, I support mental health awareness and I support people with mental illness, and then attack people when their symptoms overwhelm them.
Yeah.
And so to me, when you talk about mental illness in today's society, we've got to do more than just say, oh yeah, we know more about it. We have to do a better job understanding what the symptoms of these diseases are, and not holding people who have mental illness at the same standard of people who don't, in terms of, we have to have more patience. I shouldn't say we have to hold to different standards. We have to be more patient.
Yeah.
We really do. It's one of my struggles with our current president, or our former president. He's not current. Down in the States, is that man
Depends on who you talk to.
Trump.
Well, he's still there.
It depends on who you talk to.
He's still
if
president.
He's former.
Look, oh my God, he's convinced me. But Trump is mentally ill. Trump has a terrible narcissistic disorder. He's not well. And, and it's very hard for me to say, I hope he gets the help he needs, because the symptoms of his illness are disastrous for many, many people.
Yeah.
So how do we reconcile? I haven't figured out how to reconcile that yet either. So it's really interesting when you ask me that question, because it really is something that confuses me a lot. My own feelings, because I know that me at my worst, because of my bipolar, would have needed a lot more patience and forgiveness than I see people giving individuals with bipolar.
Yeah.
Like, we use it as an excuse to say that's why they were a murderer.
Right.
And every time somebody shoots up something and then it comes out they were bipolar, I sit there and wonder, is this me too?
Yeah.
Like, there but for the grace of God go I, right? And so it's very, very hard to advocate for mental illness, knowing that you also have to advocate for terrible behavior.
Yeah.
Not advocate for terrible behavior, but you have to be more understanding.
Well, excuse it versus understanding it. They're two different things. And going back to
that's great.
And going back to the Kanye example, we have a bigger issue too, that celebrities, whoever they might be, aren't human beings on social media. Like, the terrible things people say about people just because, they're famous is horrible. Just like you talked about earlier, you'd hate to be famous. I would hate to be too. Like they are human beings, but people call them the worst things on the face of the planet on social media, and they think they can because they have money, fame, wealth, whatever it is. If I could just go kind of on that vein, but a little bit off of it, going back to the AA example, where today is day one, and I think that's where you kind of got the day one mentality, where this is the next day. The next day is day one. Is there a danger, and I know we talk about this in mental health as well, but is there a danger when you always say today is day one, that there is never an end goal, that we don't completely get cured? I am an alcoholic every day of the rest of my life. I have someone with bipolar for every day for the rest of my life, and there is no quote unquote cure ever in the future. Is there a danger in that kind of mentality?
Yeah, I think if you adopted it, it would be. When I talk about day one, and what they tell us when we talk about day one in recovery, is it's related to that one specific non-negotiable behavior. So your day one concept is not that you don't plan for the future. It's the idea that every day in the future is going to have these same non-negotiable behaviors, which could only be 5% of your day, right?
Yep.
So 95% of your day can be spent long-term planning. It can be spent moving towards larger goals. It's about identifying, let's say I think here's a great example, actually. Steve Martin.
Yeah.
Steve Martin decided that if he picked up a banjo and played it for 1 extra minute every day, in 20 years, he'd be an amazing banjo player. So he did the non-negotiable day one behavior. This is my first day playing the banjo. But what he did is that he did it knowing that the long-term results would take him somewhere. So what you do is you look at the end goal you're hoping for. You identify what behavior, if I did it every day, would get me there. And then that becomes your day one behavior, if that makes any sense at all. So day one is about individual special behaviors that are designed to take you somewhere into the future.
That's very cool.
It's a great answer. Yeah.
Yeah. He studied it. This is his thing. He knows this stuff.
That.
I
mean, I appreciate you guys taking a look at like really reading the book too. That's awesome.
And I hope you don't mind my pushing back. But sometimes people have conversation. It's very rah. I just want to push back a little bit. I think it just makes for a better conversation. So I hope you don't mind if I'm asking you personal questions or trying to pushing up against the subject. So
generally in our conversations, as you've heard during the podcast, me and Tim will bring up a subject that we like whether it's introvert, extrovert, the 5 love languages. We brought up the Mandela effect. I don't know if you watched that one, but that one was very popular. And Tim always has to have he has to have the answer that's more like realistic. And I have to kind of, and that's why we brought on a guy to talk about the moon landing, was because I couldn't bring myself to be as outgoing as this guy was about the moon landing thing. So that's why we have these conversations, is to create conversation, right? And I think creating the conversation, it makes you think, like, is there going to be, Drew, a day 2 book? Is there going to be a book that is like, this is day 2? And at the start of the book, your first line should be no.
Yeah.
Right.
That is the book.
You're the sixth person. You're the sixth person to ask me when the next book is coming out in the last 3 days. So maybe this is the universe talking to me. And my man, don't ever apologize for pushing back. I learn the most when people push back. Like, one of the things that I tell young speakers is that when you make a point on stage, I want you to immediately think about the most cynical person you can. Not saying you're the most cynical person, man, but what problem they would have with what you just said, because then you can identify if it actually is a problem and how you can plug that hole, right? Because if you're going to think and make arguments, you need to then say, what would the person who hates me the most say in response to this?
Yep.
And I think that strengthens your argument. So push, because I honestly think if you're a smart person that you want to grow, the thing that you should spend your whole life doing is trying to disprove everything that you believe. Everything you believe, try to find a way to disprove it.
Yep.
And what will happen is you will end up believing fewer things, but the things in which you believe, you can believe in strongly.
Conviction.
And I think that what happens the same way when you get older, you have fewer friends, but they're tighter, aren't they? And so I love getting pushed back on it. Like sometimes because honestly, if I get caught flat-footed, good. Yeah. Like, I have to go back and accommodate for that possibility, right? Like, even you guys talking about the courage thing, I had never considered the possibility that what I was actually doing. Or, for instance, I had never considered the fact that when I do the lollipop story, and it's hard if you haven't heard it, I'm sorry, everybody, but what I did in that moment was make a girl very uncomfortable. And it was really heteronormative. And it took me 20 years to realize that this story that I'd so proudly told probably had women in the audience over the course of those 20 years being like, not cool, dude. Not cool. Like, the story's good and it worked out well, but it was unbelievably disrespectful of that young woman's personal space, and it was wildly heteronormative. And now I realize that. So I like it when people point out that. The challenge is when people point out a flaw when you point out a flaw in someone's reasoning without pointing out a flaw in their character.
Yeah.
And the way that was raised to me was so well done, because that person cared about making my speech better. And instead of saying, you screwed this up, they came up and said, have you ever considered how this makes people feel?
Yeah.
And the fact is I hadn't. And the phrase, have you ever considered, is a really good question.
Yeah, that's a great question.
Well, different points of view, right?
There's a lot of times that, like, obviously during 2020, that a lot of people didn't use that phrase, have you considered? They just instantly went into, this is how it is, right? Like, or this is how you made me feel, as opposed to have you considered how this would make you feel. So that's
being really said, we landed on the moon.
Yes,
that's correct.
And they're going back.
That being said, we landed on the moon,
and we're going back.
Like, we can all have different opinions, but there are facts.
So you can all have very different, incorrect opinions.
So you can use this. I'm not going to ask for any royalties, but on your second book, you can call it, "Is it day 2?" ? And then the first line of it is no. it will always be day one, and then you can go on from there and tell all these stories that you have that have come out of this book. I'm sure that you've got a lot of stories like that one you just said about the lollipop moment, right? Like where you can reflect on some of the things that you told a story about, and people asked you questions on it. I would read it. So if you're gonna do it, 6 people in 3 days means that it should be made.
You want to? You guys want to help me with my next book? Because I got a question for you. So
sure,
absolutely.
So one of my favorite questions is to ask people what is their least favorite cultural cliche. And what I mean by that is phrases like life is short, fake it till you make it, laughter is the best medicine. I have a lot of problems with all kinds of these. And so I'm thinking of writing a book called Cultural Clichés and the People Who Hate Them, or something to that effect. That's a terrible title.
Yep.
But what's your least favorite cultural cliche? One of those things that everyone says as if it's some pearl of wisdom. And when you really pick it apart, it's really bad advice.
I've got one right away.
I got one right away too.
Okay, I'm gonna go first. It is what it is.
Oh, why don't you just blow a puff of air in my face? That is how useful that phrase is.
Yeah,
Thank
saying
you.
nothing.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
I'm like, what a pointless. You just didn't know what to say, so you just said something.
You had
just
no answer.
It's the same thing.
No,
I agree with you completely.
I think I can explain that one. It is what it is when someone gets upset about something that they can't control anyway.
No.
So they say it is what it is to say just relax, just let it slide off. That's another way of saying that.
I had a boss back when I was younger that would always, whenever I would come up to him with a solution to a problem, instead of fixing the problem, he would say, it is what it is.
Well, that's different. That's completely different.
That frustrated me beyond belief, because I knew that there was more to the solution than it is what it is. So that one bothers me.
Mine is it's better than nothing.
Why do you hate that one?
Because it's like nothing is a viable alternative. It's not.
Oh, I never thought of it that way.
Yeah, I've never liked that one.
Nothing is not a viable alternative.
Yeah, well, why do we compare the two?
I like that too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's a book that I'm kind of interested in exploring. Someone told me that laughter is the best medicine drives them nuts, because they're like, man, sometimes the best medicine is a huge glass of wine, a hot bath, and a good cry. So
going back to Norm Macdonald, have you heard his laughter is the best medicine? His laughter is the best medicine unless you're a diabetic. Then insulin usually works much better.
It's true. Like, but if anyone's listening and they've got some, like, put it in the comments.
That's awesome.
Look, I'm learning how to do a podcast, right? Isn't that how it works?
Yeah, put it in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
Culture cliche is life is short. It is not. It's the longest thing you will ever do.
Another one is like, share, and subscribe. Like, what happens if I don't? Nothing.
Why I know that? Because another thing you might not know about me is I can't get enough of reaction videos.
Yeah.
Like just random people watching music videos and commenting on them. And honestly, like watching wrestling bloggers watch Edge's return or CM Punk's return makes me so happy. I don't know why I love reaction videos, but I watch them and they just lose their mind. If you ever want to see pure joy, just watch the reaction video of Edge returning, I think at the Royal Rumble a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And it's just a whole bunch of wrestling marks freaking out like it's the greatest moment of their life. And I just love watching pure joy.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. Like, I forget who said it recently, but maybe it was David Letterman. Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce is awesome. It is awesome. It is a real life Disney movie. This is the best. How can anyone hate this? All right. I just love it. I want more Travis and I want more Taylor. I want them together. I want a whole other channel where it's just her watching the game. This is love and it's beautiful and wonderful. Go team, go.
Don't you know
Stop complaining.
Don't you know the NFL and Taylor Swift are just fabricating the whole thing? Didn't you know that?
Yeah, because I heard that the Super Bowl has been rigged.
Yeah.
We talked about that too.
The Super Bowl has been rigged against the California city with the much higher population.
Yes.
And definitely they've rigged it against the city that would be better for the NFL.
Yeah,
yes, of course.
Kansas City, which is like a working man's city, which is have you ever been to the stadium at Kauffman or Arrowhead?
No, I have not. I hear they're beautiful though.
Kauffman is such an old stadium, so like the seats are just falling apart, but it's amazing in there. Like me and my son sat front row in the outfield because the waterfalls were right behind us. Like I could turn around and watch the waterfalls, and then I could turn around and I could see like George Springer standing right in front of me, and I'm like, man, this is baseball is romantic. And I just like Kauffman Stadium. If you get a chance to get there, I highly recommend it because it's just, I don't know, something about it.
A little bit of barbecue and baseball.
Yeah, a little bit of barbecue and baseball. Don't stay around there though, because the two hotels that are right by the stadium are not worth staying at. Pay the extra $20 a night to stay somewhere else.
You folks, this podcast just helps with everything, doesn't it?
Well,
you got places to stay. You got got TripAdvisor on one side. You got people talking about like you got to think of it differently. Is the moon landing real? Like there's a lot of in-depth stuff going on.
If you want to go on a baseball trip and go and see how many games we're seeing? We're seeing five teams. If you ever want to know how to go and see 5 games, including a season opener for like under $500 in Florida, you let us know. We'll tell you exactly how to do it.
We leave in 41 days.
You had me until in Florida.
Well, it's in Tampa. We have to go see the Jays.
That's true, and I'm thinking of going to Dunedin to see it because I've only done spring training once and it was a blast. But
if you're down there at the end of March, let us know. That's when we'll be down there.
I just love how wide ranging this podcast is. Like we are all over. Can we talk about abortion and gun rights next? Like, I'm kidding. By the way, I saw you perk up a little bit there. I'm like, no. Maybe cause all kinds of problems.
Maybe on the next episode of Drew Talks, we'll do that.
Why do bad things happen to good people? Go.
How about on the next episode of someone other than Drew talking about this?
Yeah, there's some topics that we probably won't touch.
Oh, maybe not.
So I got one last question for you, Drew, and then if you want to go, you can. If you want to keep talking, we can keep talking. But I need to ask this question, and the reason why I need to ask this question is because I sat through your keynote, loved every moment of it, but there was one thing that you said in the keynote that drove me absolutely crazy. And the question you asked everybody in the audience was, "Why do you matter?"
Yes.
And so I want to know, Drew, why do you matter?
I got caught flat-footed on this one once, and I can't believe I did. So I've been prepped for it ever since.
Oh, okay.
I matter because I plan to matter. And I don't know exactly how each day that I'm going to matter, but I have a plan to matter each day. I've got these questions. I've got what I call the leadership test, which is a series of 6 questions. I try to get 3 every single day. And because I plan to matter, I do. And I think that we hope to matter, we hope to lead, hope to make a difference. Hope is awesome. Hope's a powerful force.
Yep.
It's a terrible strategy.
Yep.
And so if you want to matter, lead, and make a difference, you got to plan to do it. And so every single day I plan to matter.
That's awesome. I thought I could catch you on that one. Thought it's the end of the day.
Someone did once. A student caught me on that before, and it was what you do is you just stroke your beard and go, huh, what do you think?
Yeah.
That's why I grew this thing, so I could be like,
I have to use the
excellent
bathroom.
question. Why don't you go home and think about it, and we'll come back and see after I get a chance to check with my friends what they think.
I need a recess, Your Honor.
I actually had that question near the top of our questions, and I'm like, no. I'm going to ask it at the end. At the end of the day,
you're going to sandbag me when I'm tired.
The light behind you has gone away, and you're starting to lose that energy.
Oh, it's dark, yeah.
And I wanted to ask you because I want to get that genuine answer, and I think that's still, even though you said you know the answer to that question, it's still a genuine answer because it's something that you're living on a daily basis.
Thank you. It was important to me that whatever answer I gave when people started asking me that actually was real. So it took me a while to get there, and I still struggle with it sometimes, I'll be honest. But yeah, But man, I'd love. Don't you have like a lightning round that you guys always do? And I love the lightning round. So I don't
this
want to
or
miss
that?
out on my chance to do that.
You want to do this or that?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
If you had it planned, if you have other questions, I want to do the questions. But
do you have more questions, Tim, or did you cross off all? I don't know if you know this, but Tim like literally just scratches. I don't think you can see it, but he just scratches his questions off when he's done them because he's a professional.
I was wondering what he was doing. I thought he was just like, that one sucked.
No, I have to pick up for my wife. I got to pick up oranges. I'm making a list here of what I have to pick up at the grocery store.
And I had, I'll put it on this camera here. I don't know if they can see it. I can't tell if it's focused. But hope versus strategy was one of my questions, and you actually just touched on it right there. Of hope being great, but it being a horrible way of living. So,
how about I ask a generational question?
Generational?
Yeah. So this is something that has fascinated me just because of my past and my dad and my grandpa and all that stuff. So people tend to repeat family origin cycles. What their dad does is brought down to the son, et cetera, and it keeps going down through generations. Discuss the difficulties in breaking financial, educational, mindset cycles when that's all you know. How do you make a change when you're in your adult years, when your formative years have been controlled and adapted with those mindsets?
Wow. I may give you the three most powerful words in leadership if I could. I don't know. I honestly, I just think that if you don't say I don't know, you will demonstrate it at some point. That's such a hard question, my friend. And I may just openly acknowledge that I don't know because it's something that I'm still struggling with because of just what you said, like being entrenched. If you've never thought of it any other way, the human brain doesn't challenge what it's always known as truth, right? And so as a result, it's really hard to break out of those. And a lot of the things from drinking, it's a family thing. Yeah. From the drinking to the bipolar, everything, all of that was sort of passed down from some area of my family. I haven't figured out how to break the cycle yet, except to realize that you are not beholden to your family for everything. You know what I mean? You should always love and respect your family, but not everything they give you is good.
Yep.
And to be able to look at other families, to go out and look at other people, to surround yourself with people who have a healthy family life, I think is unbelievably important. Like I'll go away to like a Thanksgiving dinner or something and just be like, what is this? Oh, it's love. It really catches you by surprise. But I don't know if I have a good answer for you, man. I don't want to disappoint, but I've kind of learned along the way that it's a better idea to acknowledge when you don't know than to try to come up with something. That's really hard. And I'll tell you what's going to happen is that we're going to stop this podcast. I'm going to go into the other room and I'm going to come up with an answer that I'm so bloody proud of and miss the opportunity. But I got to say, I don't know, man.
Is that something you were saying that about the why does it matter? Why do you matter question that you wanted to come up with something? Is that something that your personality has really driven you to do, is to, if you don't know the answer to something, to learn it and to practice it until it becomes something that is ingrained in you?
For me, it is a gift that people listen to you, right? Like I get people's attention. That's the only thing you can't get back. Like money is the one commodity you can always find a way to get, but time and attention isn't. So one of the things I try to do to be a good speaker is to never take for granted that I deserve people's attention. And what that means is every time I have an opportunity to come up with 2 or 3 minutes worth listening to, I try to find it. If that makes any sense. Like everyone listening here has given an hour of their lives to you two and to me.
Yep.
And so everything I try to say, I keep thinking to myself, could this be at all useful or interesting to the other people? So in a question like, why do you matter? The answer is an opportunity to captivate people for a couple of minutes. And my job, to quote Mr. Sorkin again, is to captivate the audience for however long I've demanded their attention. And so the reason my personality wants me to think about that a little bit more is because it might be 3 minutes of a good story. And 3 minutes of a good story makes someone's life a little bit better.
Yeah.
I hope.
Yeah, the difficulty I acknowledge with the question I just asked is that everybody is different. So
Yeah.
how I do that in my life, how you do that in your life, and how Greg does it is vastly different. So for me to expect that you're going to tell everybody how to break cycles is completely illogical.
Yeah.
So, but it's always been a topic that's interested me because, yeah, like you say in the book, like some people are natural leaders. Sorry, I shouldn't say that. That's not what you say in the book. But some people are just more naturally prone to be positive, to have attributes of leadership, et cetera, outgoing personality, whatever it is. And for some people, it's just harder. And for those people that it's harder, how they deal with that is very individual, right?
Yeah.
So
I also think that the book was written for people who find it harder.
Right.
Like I really was like, if you find it hard to see yourself as a leader because you're an introvert or you don't like being the center of attention or any of those reasons, I want people to realize that they are leaders.
Yeah.
So, but you're right. Everybody's so incredibly different.
Yeah.
And it's always a family thing, eh?
Yeah.
Like it's so like right now I'm dealing with my mother's progressing dementia and we always had a difficult relationship. And now she's a totally different person. And to watch any person go through that, no matter how tense and contentious your relationship has been, will open your eyes to the humanity of other people.
Yeah.
Like watching people lose their dignity makes you realize how unbelievably important human dignity is.
Yeah. Now you shared a personal example, and I thank you for that. I mean, for me, in the past couple of months, my dad passed away, and the same thing. We had a very distant, contentious kind of a relationship, or non-existent in some points. And so I was there with him 2 months ago, and just basically he was dying, and I was standing in front of him as an individual who was my dad was passing away. And it's crazy how emotional it is no matter how close you are to somebody. Yeah. But yeah, you're right. Everyone's
when my dad passed away, we talked about How I Met Your Mother. Just as an aside to go back, a weird thing to go back to, I know, and I apologize for segueing that, is when one of the characters' fathers dies, his immediate comment that cut right to the heart of me when I lost my dad was, "I'm not ready for this."
Yeah. Marshall.
And just that comment, "I'm not ready for this." I started to realize that was the exact same thing that happened. And my dad died when I was 44, and it was still like, "I'm not ready for this." And for what it's worth, for anyone who may have lost someone recently, when my girlfriend passed away, someone told me this really cool analogy about pain is like one of those rubber dodgeballs back in school, and it goes into a box, and the box has a button on the inside of it that every time the ball moves, it hits the button, and the button causes pain and anger and grief. And what happens is it always is in the box, but the ball gets smaller. But it always is a part of your life. If the box is your life and the ball is your grief, the ball shrinks, but it still bounces around, right? And every now and then it's going to hit the button. And they said, just be aware that when it starts, every little jiggle, every single thing you do in your life, it's going to hit the button.
Yeah.
But the ball gets smaller, but it never leaves the box. It just might be such a small ball that it hardly ever hits the button, but it never leaves. And there was something so... I don't know why, but there was something so comforting about that, along with the phrase, grief is just love coming face to face with its oldest enemy.
Wow.
Is it like, I heard that on a Moth podcast, and it just blew my mind.
Yeah.
Grief is just love coming face to face with its oldest enemy. And wow, we just really took a left-hand turn there, didn't we? Somehow we got How I Met Your Mother and that into the same conversation. You guys have an amazing podcast.
the How I Met Your Mother thing, every single time I see that episode, it's super emotional for me. I haven't lost my father, so I don't know what that is like. But every single time I see that episode, I call my dad.
Really?
I don't know what it is about that episode. So just a backstory about my father is he had cancer a few years ago. I guess probably about 7 or 8 years ago. And the doctors, and he never told us this, but when the doctors came in when he had his diagnosis, they told him to get his stuff in order. Right? So he never told us this until after. And he's like now like cancer free, and like he does do his checkups and all that kind of stuff. But like it just, and then last year actually he had a heart attack, and he had a heart attack on the way. Like I was just at the home, my mom gave me a call, hey, your dad's on the way to hospital because he had a heart attack. And in my mind, that How I Met Your Mother episode hits me. You know what I mean? Because like you think to yourself, no, this, I'm not ready for this. Just like he said in that episode. And I'm like, man, every time I see that episode, and I'll probably do it right after we talk today, I'll give him a call again, right? Because I actually get to see him tomorrow. They're flying back from Florida. So by the time this airs, they'll already have been back and everything like that. But yeah, a little emotional.
Everybody, call your parents.
Call your parents. Tell them you love them,
yeah,
right?
It hits you hard. I'm not ready for this.
Yeah.
The only sadder moment was Buffy saying "mommy," and there's an episode, the best episode I've ever seen on television about grief, is called "The Body" in Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Okay.
It is a magnificent. It is one of the most perfect 60 minutes of television I've ever seen, and it deals with grief in a way that is more real and more emotionally moving. And it's weird that it's from Buffy the Vampire Slayer. But if you've never watched it, it's hard to get sort of the same emotional connection if you haven't watched the whole series.
Yeah.
But it's pretty remarkable. It really, really is. Can we talk about something happy?
We can. We're going on to the lightning round in a second.
Okay, but he wants to talk about something happy, so we got to segue
That's why the lightning.
You're in Toronto, correct?
I am.
And you're a sports fan, correct?
I am.
In what decade will the Toronto Maple Leafs win a Stanley Cup?
This one.
This one. Okay.
This one. Put it down. Stick it in stone. Stick it on the wall.
This year, next year, another year? How many years?
That I can't tell you. That I cannot
It'll
tell you.
happen this decade, though.
They will win it this decade.
That's
what do we got? 2024?
Yeah, so you got 6 years.
That's a strong convicted answer to something that I don't think any NHL team in Canada can say, that they're going to win this decade.
The Oilers are pretty good.
But they weren't.
The Oilers, I didn't think they were going to lose.
It's the Dallas Oilers or the Edmonton Cowboys. They look good in the regular season, but just wait. Dak Prescott's going to play. Dak Prescott and all the Edmonton Oilers are going to crash and burn.
Oh man, yeah.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
The Oilers have the most amount of number one draft picks that have never won anything in their life.
Yeah.
Hey, look, you have the best player in the world. You always have a chance.
Yeah, and I guess you can say Connor McDavid. Bedard's going to come up and he's going to give him a run for his money, I think, in a few years.
Yes.
Unproven.
I think he's going to. But yeah, and then you guys have Austin Matthews. I do miss, though, Drew, your brick background.
Yes. That was fake. So I stopped wanting to, because it was really hard to keep it ironed.
No,
to be completely honest.
Well, you had a brick background, right?
It folded.
You had an original brick background, and then you.
I did years ago, but I actually changed to a fake one.
Yeah,
but yeah, I like the new one.
This looks good.
Down, it looked beautiful in here. I actually looked at the screen and was like, "Damn, we look good."
We got to do this at this
Second time I've done that this podcast.
When are you coming to town to watch Bull Durham in Greg's basement?
Oh my God, that would be a really good time. I have nothing planned officially to head to your town, but it almost always happens a couple times a year.
If you're in Winnipeg,
so we will rock that.
Because your love language is pizza, I will take you to the best pizza in town, Little Pizza Heaven.
Ooh.
Tim's not a pizza guy. His love language is not pizza.
I eat no carbs, no sugars.
He doesn't eat carbs. But this place, Little Pizza Heaven, makes their pizza with garlic bread crust.
Done.
And it's like a hand tossed thin. So good with a lot of meat, and it's so good.
Let's go back to grief for just a second. I just want to say this.
Yep.
Yesterday I discovered that my favorite pizza place growing up, the place that your dad takes you to after ball games and everything, that it closed.
Oh.
And then I just wanted to share that with everyone so that I could feel some emotional support, because it was, I'm not going to lie. It was, at first you're like, oh no, it closed. And then you actually think about it and you realize, damn, that place was a big part of my life.
Yeah.
What
place? And they closed her down. The Pizza Factory in Peterborough, Ontario, Canada, rest in peace, my friend. You made some great pies.
Oh man, yeah. When you lose a good pizza place, that's
It's funny. We talked about the emotional connection with food and emotions a couple episodes ago, or last episode, or something like that. And we talked about my friend of mine. He would be when he had cheat days because he has a diet, whatever, and then he always has a cheat meal. And he says, "Well," I asked him, "Well, what do you cheat with? Is it like spaghetti? Is it pizza?" He says, "Always pizza." And I said, "Why is it pizza? Why isn't it something else?" And he said, every second Friday, his family would, or every Friday, his family would have pizza nights. And that was his emotional connection to comfort, right? So whenever anyways, I thought that was interesting. So, yeah.
That's cool.
I never thought about but I know that I struggle with my weight big time. And it's because when I need comfort, I go to food because I can't go to booze anymore, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And for me, the McRib's back, eh?
Yeah, I saw that. I managed to resist it thus far.
I've had two.
But I'm going to have a McRib.
I've had two.
If you had McRibs available all year, you wouldn't think twice. You would never have a McRib. But it's like the Shamrock Shake. It's only available a month, so we have to have it.
And I get the Shamrock Shake.
Anything pumpkin. Like, who's going to drink anything pumpkin? Pumpkin is terrible. It's terrible.
Horrible.
Let's all just say it out loud.
It's horrible.
But pumpkin isn't actually pumpkin. It's just spice. It's not. It's not actually drinking a pumpkin.
Don't care. It's vile.
Agreed.
But get a McRib. They've been gone for like 11 years. My son.
Are they really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So my son.
Bring back pizza.
My son is McDonald's pizza was fantastic. Apparently they have it in Europe.
Oh no! Bring back the
anyway. You were talking about your son, man.
So,
Let's not talk about when you're talking about your kids.
So my son, he turns 23 in a couple of weeks, and he goes to me. He sends the thing because he knew that I love the McRib. He sends it to me. He goes, "Hey, the McRib's coming back," and I'm like, "Oh, that's awesome! Like, I'm excited." He's like, "I've never had one," and I'm like, "What do you mean? Like, what do you mean you've never had one?" He's like, "Well, I was like 10 when they came out, and I probably had like burgers back then, right? Like, you don't buy your 10-year-old son a Big Mac, you get them a Happy Meal." So like I think it's been 11 or 12 years that it's been gone. And so podcast taping 2 weeks ago when the McRib came out on the Tuesday. We record on Wednesdays usually, and he came to the recording because he does the sound and everything for us, and he brought me a McRib. And me and him cheersed our McRibs. Tim was there, took a picture of it, cheersed our McRibs, and he had his first McRib with me, and it was fantastic.
I'm gonna order one right now on Uber Eats as we talk. There it is. It's even the ad for McDonald's on Uber Eats. It's the McRib. So
can you do
as we finish off, I'm going to order one.
Can you do us a favor? When the McRib arrives, can you take a video on your phone that as you're having the McRib, but a shout out to the Greg and Tim podcast while you're having the McRib?
I think I can definitely make that happen.
That would be fantastic.
That would be awesome.
Do this. All right. Well, I'll do that after, so I won't be ordering because now I have to prove it anyway.
Now you're going to have to. Okay, so we're going to do the lightning round real quick here because I know we've taken up a ton of your time here, and we're super appreciative of all the time that you're taking here.
Absolutely. It's been great.
Because
my friends, I'll tell you something. You're the ones who have to edit this mess, so I thank you for the extra work you're about to put in.
Hey, the editing is the fun part for me. I just finished editing the one where Tim got surprised by Kirk Heelback, and the look on his face when his eyeballs opened up and saw Kirk Heelback walk through that door was priceless. And I laughed probably all day because...
What's crazy is you knew what he looked like.
Oh, we know.
Oh, yeah.
Like
we know.
Most times commentators, you wouldn't necessarily know what they look like. Right?
He's super famous in Winnipeg. And when he walked through the door, because I gave Tim the book for his birthday. And so Tim opened the book. We talked about Kurt Keelback, and Tim told some stories about why he loves him and all that kind of stuff. And literally a knock on the door happens and he walks through the door and Tim's staring at him as he walks through the door, and he can't say anything. And the guy, he reaches out, shakes Tim's hand and goes, "Hi, I'm Kurt." And Tim just keeps looking at him and shaking his hand, and he goes, "And you are?"
I said, "I don't know. What's my name?"
Right now, I'm not present. I don't even know.
So
what I'm worried about is that I'm going to eat the damn McRib and just
love it
all down the front of this, and I just got this. So if I wreck this suit,
Tim will pay for the dry cleaning.
just to make sure that you guys have some cool footage. I'm sending you the bill.
Tim will take care of it.
We'll take care of it. Yeah.
Yeah, just bring it to Winnipeg.
Oh, really? I'm just gonna pour it down.
Just pour it all.
Well, you got to come get your cup when you come here too, right?
Yeah.
Yes, for sure.
Okay, here's the lightning round. We're gonna go in the lightning round, and then we're gonna close her out here. Are you ready?
I'll mark right or wrong.
I'm ready. How does it work?
We're gonna go this or that. You have to pick one or the other. You can't explain why this or that, or you can just say which one you pick.
All right, fire away, my friend.
Here we go. New York style or Chicago style pizza?
Chicago style pizza is not pizza. New York.
New York. Okay.
It's just cold marinara soup.
The deep dish pizza. You don't like it?
Well, that's what he said.
Nope.
No. Okay.
No. It's just marinara soup.
This one has been 50-50 so far. Android or Apple?
Oh, Apple.
There we go.
Wrong. Okay.
He wrote wrong. Tim wrote wrong. I agree with you. I know you've lived in both these places. So Toronto or Vancouver?
Toronto.
Yeah.
I love Vancouver. It's beautiful, but it's not as warm as, like, I find it's not as welcoming. It's kind of a cold city in terms of personality, but I love it's so beautiful.
Yeah. Public speaking or going to a baseball game?
Public speaking.
Oh,
believe it or
really?
not. I never feel more alive, and I never feel safer than when I'm giving a speech.
Wow. I really honestly thought that you were going to say baseball game.
No, I absolutely. Giving speeches is how I enter the world.
Yeah.
It's the most marvelous, extraordinary thing.
That's fantastic.
I'm so lucky.
European or Caribbean vacation?
Caribbean, actually. I wouldn't have said that before last week, but I had an extraordinary experience last week. So
Yes.
Caribbean. Can't wait to go back.
That's fantastic. Star Wars or Star Trek?
Star Wars.
That's the right answer. Yeah.
There's no need for expanding on that.
That's right. Reading a book or Netflix?
It's net like
Yeah,
I know I should say read a book, but who we kidding? It's Netflix. Like,
Read your book or Netflix. No.
oh God, Netflix.
When-
Oh, you mean somebody else? By all means, if you're somebody else, you should read my book. What you should actually do is get my book on audiobook, go out for a nice long walk, listen to my book, go home and watch Netflix, and order pizza, maybe a McRib. Can you get pizza with McRib on it?
Yeah, you can. Just put them
Oh,
on
that
top
would
of
be
each other.
fantastic.
Just order one and then the other one.
I've just made the world a better place. You can put donair on pizza, so why not?
I listened to your book once while doing the elliptical back in 2020. Yeah, 2020, because that's when I heard you speak. So I got the book and listened to it once on the elliptical. The second time I listened to your book was in the hot tub. So both times were very awkward and weird. But I thought I'd share it.
Yeah, that's pretty much what being in a hot tub with me is like.
I listen to books in the hot tub every morning. So
That's a TV show. In the hot tub with Drew.
hot tub with Drew. He's not buying it. I can see it on his face.
I can see HBO passing on that right now.
We're gonna go back to the 90s here. Alanis Morissette or Pearl Jam?
Alanis Morissette. No explanation.
Wow.
Like, they're both growly, nasty voices, but
Yeah,
I'm going to go with. I was so in love with Alanis Morissette when I was a teenager. I just can't help it.
Yeah. And the whole Dave Coulier thing has kind of come out to be true now. So that's kind of funny.
I did not know that.
Yeah, he admitted on a show that he heard the song when it came out, and he's like, "Oh no." He's like that's about
Well,
me.
I'm just going to have to argue because I'm on a show now and I'm going to claim it's about me.
Yeah.
The song?
Yeah.
He just wanted to cut it out.
That's right. What's the Rocky and Bullwinkle thing that he would do?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh man. Well, that's the lightning round, Drew. That was what we need to know about you, and we will make sure that we don't go for deep dish pizza when you come to Winnipeg. We will watch Bull Durham, followed by an episode of Star Wars or Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
From what I could tell, though, I was getting some disapproval for both my Star Wars and what was the other one that you wanted to push back on there? I could see your disappointment in me.
You got 4 out of 8. So,
Oh, I got 4 out of 8 correct. Okay, I didn't realize they were right answers.
well, you also got 4 out of 8 incorrect.
So you
There's
Glass is half empty, right?
based on and here's the thing: a lot of these questions are based on what, like me and Tim. Like I pick one and he picks the other, so that's why he's got 4 out of 8 correct. So he uses an Android, so that one was one of the ones.
I love Shatner and Nimoy.
He likes Star Trek. Europe he would pick over the Caribbean, and
That was a close one for me.
and he would pick reading over Netflix.
That makes sense. You're a better human being than I am. And just so you know, the glass half empty, glass half full. Someone asked me once, are you glass half empty or glass half full guy? And I can't, maybe it's just because I'm practical, but it strikes me that that glass is twice as big as it needs to be.
That's the best answer
I'm
I've
like,
heard
I'm not
today.
glass half empty, glass half full. I'm just like, that glass is too big. So
That's a
put it in
perfect
a
place
smaller
to
glass,
end.
you morons.
That's a perfect place to end.
Thanks again, Drew. I'm going to link everything below. People can buy your book, where they can get it. If you can see it on that camera. This is Day 1, a practical guide to leadership that matters. It's not just talking about the moon landing or anything like that. So it has nothing to do with the moon
I don't
landing.
believe I mentioned it. I don't believe I mentioned it more than twice.
Yeah, exactly. But it is a fantastic book, and if you want to hear Drew read the book on Audible, it is amazing. But get the physical copy so you can make notes and everything on it as well, because you're going to want to make notes. It's a fantastic book. Thank you, Drew, for joining us.
Albert Camus would do.
Thank you, Drew, for joining us. So, Tim, I'm kind of disappointed. I think I could talk to Drew all day about random things. McRibs. We can talk to him about anything that really comes up in my mind. And I feel like he has a lot of insight into a lot of things. But when he doesn't, like he says, he responds appropriately with, I don't know.
And that's in the book too, where he says sometimes you just don't know, and it's important not to quote unquote BS somebody into if you don't know, you don't know. And that's just the honesty that he comes to writing his book and to talking with us in the interview. And just that humanity in that, and I really appreciate that. But we really had some questions. I think we challenged him in some of the things that he believes in, what he writes in the book, and I think it led to a really good conversation. So I'm really pumped, and I'm happy that we were able to sit down.
We gave him some ideas for his new book. That was fun.
And if anyone out there doesn't know this, so you have some experience. You've talked to Drew before through business and so work and so on and so forth. And I had not had a chance to. This is the first time I sat down and actually talked to him. And so like I felt I was a little behind the 8 ball, but as far as not really
knowing what he's like,
because I hadn't seen him or talked to him until then. But it was really good. I really appreciated that you were able to get him on the show, and I really enjoyed the book. First of all, because I read it a month ago, and just talking to him. So I really appreciate it. I really hope that we do have a chance to have him on and
in person.
So
next time he's in Winnipeg, hopefully he can come over. We can have some pizza.
Your homework though is to watch Bull Durham before.
I'm gonna watch Bull Durham before, but he's gonna come over and watch it with us.
Yes, but that's the number. If you go on any list of baseball movies, the number one, highest rated.
And Drew's a big Blue Jays fan. He had a podcast last year called Drew Jays Talk, which him and his buddy Andrew were talking about the Blue Jays, and they only talked about positive things about the Blue Jays. They didn't bring up any negatives. They said, "Oh, this guy went 2 for 3 yesterday. The Jays might have lost 6-0, but the guy went 2 for 3." So he had a very positive outlook on that, and I really liked it. And big Blue Jays fan.
The story he told about Jerry Howarth was, I had not heard that story. And I really love that when we're interviewing someone and you learn something that you didn't know. And I've never heard that story. And he says he considers himself a storyteller. Drew does. And the story he told about Jerry Howarth, who I followed for many years as well, as I
as a Blue Jays fan,
as well as a Jays fan, was a great story.
It was fantastic. Awesome. Well, thanks for watching again. This is the Greg and Tim Show. New episodes every Friday at what time, Tim?
The episodes air at 8:30 Central Standard Time.
8:30 a.m. in the morning. So if you're not subscribed and this is the first time you've seen us because you liked Drew Dudley, make sure you subscribe and make sure that you hit the like button, share it with all your friends.
Every subscriber,
tell everybody.
Every subscriber gets a free McRib from Greg, I think, right?
No,
I
don't have a budget.
Oh, okay.
For that. So anyway, thanks for watching. Have a good one. We'll see you again next week where we'll have another new episode.
Cheerio!
Cheerio. See you later.
Thanks for watching the Greg and Tim Show podcast. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with all your friends. Sharing is caring.